Welcome to Chapter 9 in Cryptography. We'll explain how businesses apply cryptography to maintain information security. Key concepts: we'll discover the basics of cryptography, our business applications of cryptography, and symmetric versus asymmetric key cryptography, encryption mechanisms and techniques, and certificate and key management. So, what is cryptography, right? So it's basically encryption, right? So we have unencrypted information, or plain text or clear text. It's information that we can understand and read, right? Then you have encrypted information, also known as ciphertext, and that's information is scrambled or hidden, right? It's not accessible to the general population. So encryption is the process of scrambling plain text into ciphertext, and decryption is the process of unscrambling the ciphertext into plain text. And we use an algorithm, which is a repeatable process that produces the same results when it receives the same input. And then a cipher is an algorithm to encrypt or decrypt information. A crypto system at work, right? So you have meet me at 9 is our plain text. We send it through the algorithm or the cipher, and we come out with this unreadable, unlegible ciphertext. It's encrypted. The encryption cipher, we have those that use the same key to encrypt and decrypt, and our private symmetric keys, right? So the same key is used to encrypt and decrypt. It's a symmetric key. And those that use different keys to encrypt and decrypt are asymmetric keys. They're different. Principles of cryptography: you have the key space, the number of possible keys to a cipher, right? So how many keys are there to the door, right? Open ciphers make it possible for experts around the world to examine the ciphers for weaknesses, right? So they're open. Everybody can try and figure and see how strong they are, right? Data encryption standard, or DES, is the most scrutinized cipher in history. So we have DES, or data encryption standard, is the most scrutinized cipher. It's not really secure anymore, but a brief history of cryptography. We've been using it for at least 4,000 years. Stenography is the act of hiding information. Cryptanalysis is breaking code, right? Breaking encryption. Cryptography was used in World War I and World War II, and basically in a lot of our secure communications today. Symmetric and asymmetric key cryptography was introduced in 1976. Cryptography's role in information security, right? So confidentiality keeps our information secret from unauthorized users. Integrity, we can use it to ensure no one has, even the sender, has made changes to information while it was transmitting it. Authentication, you can also be used to confirm the identity of an entity. And non-repudiation, which enables you to prevent a party from denying a previous statement or action. In other words, you can prove they did it, right? Business and security requirements for cryptography: internal security, right? Confidentiality, privacy, integrity, and authorization. Security in business relationships, right? Our message authentication, signatures, receipt and confirmation, non-repudiation for legal contracts. Security measures that benefit everyone: anonymity, time stamping, revocation, and ownership. Information security objectives, right? So our objective for privacy or confidentiality, right, keeps our information secure. Integrity ensures that unauthorized users or unknown processes have not altered the information. We can guarantee that with process of known like hashing. Entity authentication or identification, it can corroborate the identity of an entity, that this is the person or computer, terminal, credit card, etc., and they are legit. Message authentication can corroborate the source of the information, authenticate the data's origin. And signature, bind the information to an entity, right? So it is you, that's your signature. Authorization, convey an official sanction to do or be something to another entity, right? You're authorized. Validation, provide timely authorization to use or manipulate information or resources. Access controls, restrict access to resources to privileged entities. Certification, endorses information by a trusted entity. Timestamping, record the time a user created or accessed the information. Witnessing, verifying the action to create an object or verify the object's existence by an entity other than its creator. Receipt, acknowledge that the recipient received the information. Confirmation, acknowledge that the provider has provided services. Ownership, grant an entity the legal right to use or transfer a resource to others. Anonymity, conceal the identity of an entity involved in some process. Non-repudiation, prevent an entity or someone from denying previous comments or actions. There's no denying it was you that sent this, right? Revocation, retract certification or authorization. So you're revoking the access. Cryptography functions and ciphers. Each cipher has specific characteristics that make it desirable or undesirable. When evaluating a cipher, consider its intended use. Are you trying to secure data in transit or data at rest? Different ciphers solve different problems better than others, right? After selecting a cipher, you must make additional decisions about key size, operational modes, etc. Many symmetric ciphers operate as either a stream or block cipher. A stream cipher encrypts 1 byte or bit at a time, and a block cipher encrypts an entire block of data at a time. Business security implementations, general classifications, so authentication, non-PKI, access control or authorization, assessment and audits, security management products, perimeter network security availability, content filtering, encryption, administration and education, outsourced services and consultants. All of these can be general classifications. Capabilities, privacy or confidentiality, integrity, right? Entity authentication or identification, message authentication, signatures, non-repudiation, anonymity, ownership, witnessing, certification, timestamp, access controls, right? Transposition ciphers, right? Rearrange characters or bits of data, right? Substitute ciphers, replaces bits, characters, or blocks of information with other bits, characters, or blocks. So these are two types of ciphers. So here's a transposition cipher. We're going to attack at dawn as our plain text message. And then our ciphertext is now this new statement. And our key is 1, 2, 3, 4. And so the 1, right? So an A, what was it? A becomes an A. And a T becomes a C. And then a D, right? So let's see how are we trying to use this here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So A, C, D, T, K. Okay, so you use the 1 column first, and then and then the 2 column, then the 3 column, then the 4 column. Yeah. So okay. Interesting. The substitution cipher, the most famous one from early was the Caesar cipher. Each letter in the English alphabet, you rotate a number of positions with Z wrapping back to A. Keyword mixed alphabet cipher uses a cipher alphabet that consists of a keyword minus duplicates followed by the remaining letters of the alphabet. A Vizier cipher encrypts every letter with its own substitution scheme. Simple substitution cipher allows any letter to uniquely map to another letter. So you just randomly, arbitrary, pick substitutions, but once you've got them, then they stay. So the letter F replaces A, and the letter Z replaces B, right? But you'd have to have it listed out. But that's just a simple substitution. Symmetric and asymmetric key cryptography. So symmetric key uses the same key to encrypt and decrypt, and asymmetric ciphers have 4 key properties, but they use different keys to encrypt and decrypt. So the properties: 2 associated algorithms that are inverses of each other exist, and each of these 2 algorithms is easy to compute. It is computationally infeasible to derive the second algorithm if you know the first algorithm. Given some random input, you can generate associated key pairs that are inverses of each other. So cryptanalysis and public versus private keys. You can break a cipher in 2 ways. You can analyze the ciphertext to find the plain text or key, analyzing the ciphertext and its associated plain text to find the key. 4 basic forms of cryptography attacks: ciphertext only attacks, COA; a known plain text attack, KPA; and then chosen plain text attacks, and then chosen cipher text attacks. So here's a ciphertext only attack. The sample of ciphertext is available, but not the plain text associated with it. So you try to figure out what the plain text was based on the ciphertext. A known plain text attacks. The ciphertext and the corresponding plain text are both available. So you know what the plain text is, and you know what the ciphertext is, and now you're trying to figure out what the key is. Keys, key space, and key management. So a key is just a value that is an input into a crypto system. A key space is a set of all possible keys, because there are usually more than one key that can answer the problem. And key management, one of the most difficult and critical parts of a crypto system. Key distribution techniques, paper, hardware, digital media. So paper distribution requires no technology to use. However, it does require a person to do something to install the key. This human role can introduce errors or give a disgruntled person a chance to compromise the system. Digital distribution can be in the form of CDs or email. Note that you must protect the keys in transit. Some form of secure transmission must be used. For physical media, tamper-proof cases, registered mail gives some level of assurance. For electronic distributions, a higher level key known as a key encrypting key protects the keys in transit and storage. This, of course, requires that you first distribute the key encrypting key by some alternative secure mechanism. You should use key encrypting keys only to encrypt other keys, not data. Excessive use of any key could lead to it being compromised. And then you can distribute a key via hardware with a personal computer memory card, a smart card, or a plug-in module. The advantage is that you transfer the keys directly from the key transport mechanism into the crypto device without anyone viewing them, and no copies exist outside of these components. Key distribution centers, or KDCs, rather than each organization creating the infrastructure to manage its own keys, a number of hosts could agree to trust a common key distribution center. All parties must trust the key distribution center, And with a key distribution center, each entity requires only one secret key pair between itself and the KDC. Kerberos and ANSI X9.17 use the concept of a KDC. Hash functions, checksums, right? Summary information appended to a message to ensure that the values of the message have not changed. Hash, like a checksum, but operates so that a forged message will not result in the same hash as a legitimate message. It is usually a fixed size and acts as a fingerprint for the data. Digital signatures bind the identity of an entity to a particular message or piece of information, ensures the integrity of a message, and verifies who wrote it. Requires asymmetric key cryptography. So you have the message, the plain text, goes through the hash algorithm, and then you add the private key, and that equals the signature, right? So you take the message, you hash it, you do a hash on it, so it creates a digital signature of the message. You sign it, basically. You encrypt that with your private key, and so then the receiver can decrypt that message because only you have your private key, and so then they check that hash against the message and they know that you sent the message. And this is how the signature works, right? So I basically explained that, but basically you're hashing the message, signing it with your private key, and only you can sign it with your private key, and thus anybody with your public key can verify that you signed the message. So security products and service categories, right? We have anti-malware, forensics, ID management, messaging, safeguards, patch management, perimeter defenses, transaction security, and even wireless security. Uses, applications and uses in information security, authentication tools, including tokens, smart cards, biometrics, passwords, password recoveries. Access control authorization includes firewalls, timestamp, single sign-ons, identity management, mobile devices. Assessment and auditing tools include vulnerability assessment scanners, penetration testing tools, forensic software, and log analyzers. Security management products include tools for enterprise security management, configuration and patch management, and security policy development. Wireless security tools encrypt data to protect them in transit and to limit access to authorized people. Encryption tools including line encryption, database security products, virtual private networks, VPNs, public key infrastructure, PKI, and crypto accelerators. Symmetric key standards, right? We have data encryption standard, DES, that became insecure, and then they came up with triple DES, so you run the message through 3 times. International Data Encryption Algorithm, CAST, Blowfish, Advanced Encryption Standard, AES, which that's more usable today. A lot of us will use Advanced Encryption Standard, AES. RC2 and RC4 are also symmetric key standards. Wireless security. Wireless products have built-in security, and the default configuration generally does not enable it. They expect customers to enable it. 802.11 provides wireless communications and transmission speeds of 11 megabits, and then it goes up to 100 gigabits for 802.11ay. Wireless protocols allow encryption through wired equivalent privacy, or WEP, which is insecure, and most use WPA2 currently. It's definitely replaced the WEP. WPA is still also insecure. You should use WPA2. Asymmetric key solutions don't require each party to first share a secret key. You just provide your public keys. The key directory is trusted repository of public keys, and the key escrow is a key storage method that allows some authorized third parties access to a key under certain circumstances. Asymmetric key solutions. The SSL handshake protocol consists of two phases. The server authenticates and an optional client, server authentication and an optional client authentication. Digital signatures verify a person's identity or that the person's associated with the message. You can do that with asymmetric keys. Certificate of authority, CA, vouches for the validity of a credential and maintains a list of invalid or revoked certificates in either a certificate revocations list, CRL, or by maintaining the data to support the newer online certificate status protocol. Hash functions and integrity. So hash functions help detect forgeries. They compute a checksum of a message and combine the checksum with a cryptography function so that the result is tamper-proof. A hash is designed so that no one can forge a message in a way that will result in the same hash as a legitimate message. It's usually a fixed size, resulting in a hash value which is larger than the checksum values. Basically, you use a hash to validate something, right? That hasn't changed. So you say you have, let's just say you have a 10-page contract, and you hash that contract after it's signed. You can take that hash and that contract, and you then you can always rehash the contract, and then it should equal the original hash, and it'll prove that the contract hasn't changed. If you change even a space or a letter in that 10-page contract, you would get a completely different hash value, and then thus the contract is not the original contract. You could do something like that, or not the original message, right? Or not the original software. If you have code, lines of code, in an executable file, you can hash the executable file, and if anything is changed in that file, it's been tampered with, because the hash values won't be the same. Hashing algorithms. So MD5 is a popular message digest algorithm. It takes an input of any arbitrary length and generates a 128-bit message digest that is computationally infeasible to match by finding another input. Secure hash algorithm, SHA-1, produces a 160-bit hash from a message of any arbitrary length. Hash message authentication code, or HMAC, is a hash function that uses a key to create the hash or message digest, and these are used in a lot of authentications for API calls for application programming interfaces. If you're developing against Facebook or Twitter or things of that nature and using their APIs, you would use the hash message authentication code to validate and gain access to the APIs. Race integrity primitives evaluation message digest, or RIPMD collection. RIPMD is a collection of functions that provide hash values for a wide range of applications. Relationships between hash and digital signature algorithms, right? They're very, very simple, right? So you got a signature generation. Here you're using SHA-1 to create a message digest, and then the DSA signed operation, right? So you got the private public key. versus a signature verification, right? So the signature generation, you got the message, you hash it, and then you sign it with your private key. You send it over. They decrypt it with your public key, and then they also compute a hash on the message. And so when they decrypt the hash, they check the hash, both hashes are the same, and only you could have sent the hash because it was decrypted from your public key. So then your signature is verified or not verified if it doesn't match. Excuse me. Digital signatures and non-repudiation. So a digitized signature is an image of a physical signature stored in digital format, and that's a digitized signature. A digital signature is a combination of a strong hash of a message which acts as a fingerprint. Conditions for proving non-repudiation: an effective asymmetric key algorithm, a strong hash function, a means to apply the private encrypted key to the hash value to produce a digital signature, a tamper-proof or trusted third-party timing device, an agreed-upon protocol for validating digital signatures, a secure key management and distribution system, a public key repository with an assured level of integrity, key escrow to be able to produce public keys from reluctant parties, and procedures to handle disputes. These are all required for proving non-repudiation. Principles of certificates and key management. The best key management system in the world does not protect against a brilliant cryptanalyst if the encryption algorithm itself has any weaknesses. Right? So it doesn't matter how well you manage your keys if the algorithm underlying the keys is weak. Modern key management techniques, advanced encryption standard, it's an encryption algorithm, but Internet Protocol Security, IPsec, the Internet Security Association Key Management Protocol, Extensible Markup Language, XML Key Management Specifications, or XKMS, Managed Public Key Infrastructure, or PKI, and American National Standards Institute's ANSI X9.17. And that brings us to the end of Chapter 9 on cryptography. I will see you in Chapter 10.